let me get myself situated for a minute. Let me get myself situated. Uh, I just got off from like stitching up the pants. I just worn. These like hospital trousers right here. These like trousers. They're like hospital trousers. I yanked them out of the trash box yesterday. I yanked them out. I yanked them out. I yanked them out. I yanked them out of the box yesterday and then wore 'em. Let me go get on to this story here. Well, I'm not gonna be able to play any of his some of his. I ain't gonna be able to play some of his music uh on this live show because I ain't had the proper time to do that type of shit. But we're gonna fucking start this shit over. We're gonna start this shit now. This the thing about this man. I like all mirrors. I ain't get a chance to do a live show based on this man. Uh, Eazy-E. In 1993, I used to watch one of his music videos, like real motherfucking G's. It was him, BG Knockout, and Joyce. We're gonna go straight into this shit. We'll go from the top and then hit to the bottom here. Uh, this is Eric Lynn Wright, who was also known professionally as Eazy-E, was an American rapper who propelled the West Coast and West Coast rap and the gangster rap, genres by leading the group NWA. That stands for like just like this. It means for like niggas with attitudes. And its label, Ruthless Records. That's his label. That was like him but it came from him and the late Jerry Heller, who was an established rock manager. You know what I mean? The guy was known for managing, Pink Floyd and all these other acts, rock acts. So Wright is often referred to as the quote unquote godfather of gangster rap. Born and raised in Compton, California, Wright had several legal troubles before founding Ruthless in 1987, especially in the late 80s, after a short solo career with a frequent collaboration with the likes of Ice Cube and Dr. Dre. They joined forming NWA later that year. NWA's debut studio album, Straight Outta Compton, was released in 1988. Controversial upon release, it is now ranked among the greatest and most influential albums ever. The group released its second and final studio album, Niggas for Life. Yeah, Niggas for Life. That was like you see it spelled backwards. In like 1991, it's the early 90s, and soon after disbanded. During NWA's splintering largely by disputes over money, Eazy-E became embroiled in bitter rivalries with label mates Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, who had departed for solo careers in 1989 and 1991, respectively, resuming his solo career. Eazy-E released about 2 EPs, yet he remained more significant behind the scenes, signing and nationally debuting the rap group Bone Thugs and Harmony. From 1993 to 1994, he died from the HIV/AIDS related illness in 1995. We're going to the early life and the Ruthless Records investment, folks. Eric Wright was born to parents Richard and Kathy Wright on September 7th, 1964, in Compton, California, a Los Angeles suburban neighborhood once noted for the high crime rates and the gang culture. His father used to be a postal worker. He was though at that time, and his mother, man, she used to be a great school administrator. She was then. Wright dropped out of high school in the 10th grade when he was like I think it was like a junior or something. I don't know, like a sophomore. I mean, like a sophomore in high school. But later he received a general equivalency diploma. That means for GED. See, the words came from Jerry Heller and his take on Eazy-E, and he said this. Rest in peace to Jerry Heller. This is before he passed away in 2016. No one survived on the streets without a protective mask. No one survived naked. You had to have a role. You had to be a quote unquote thug, quote unquote player, quote unquote athlete, quote unquote gangster, or quote unquote dope man. Otherwise, there was only one role left to you, quote unquote victim. Wright supported himself mainly by selling drugs and introduced his cousin to the illicit occupation. Wright's music manager, Jerry Heller, whose real name was Gerald Elliott Heller, who who used to be an American music manager and a businessman who was best known for his management of West Coast gangster rap pioneers like NWA and Eazy. You know, but that man has rose to prominence in the 1960s, and he came from that. In the 1970s, he represented people like Journey and Marvin Gaye and Van Morrison and like Pink Floyd and people, especially Marvin. He was representing Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye was working for Motown back in those days, long before the shit he had with. Just before he had he did the song with Tammy Terrell, who's resting in peace since the 1970s. Joey Heller, who was Wright's music manager, he recalls seeing Wright selling marijuana and cocaine. Heller would reclaim that Wright's dope dealer label was part of his quote unquote self forged armor. Wright has also labeled as a quote unquote thug. He was a thug. Heller explains the hood that where he grew up was a dangerous place. He was a small guy, like 5 foot 4 inches. You know what I mean? A thug was like a role that was widely understood on the streets, especially on the street. It gave you a certain level of the protection in the same not in the same in the sense that people hesitated to fuck with you. Hesitated to fuck with you. Otherwise, likewise, a dope dealer was a role that accorded you certain, privileges and respect. But in 1986, at the age of 22, Wright had allegedly earned as much as $250,000 from dealing drugs. However, his cousin, who had be Horace, he was shot and killed. He decided that he could make a better living in the LA hip hop scene, which was growing rapidly in popularity. he started recording songs during the mid 1980s in a garage that Richard and Kathy had owned in their house, thus starting the Ruthless Records label. That's how Easy E or Eric Wright is the same thing. He started recording songs during the mid '80s, in his parents' garage, thus starting the Ruthless Records label. You know, it goes back to where Wright used to be a pharmaceutical employee. You know, before he got into the drug shit, right before he did the drug shit. Uh, but the original idea for Ruthless Records came when Wright asked Heller, his old manager, to go into business with him. Wright suggested a half ownership company, but it was later decided that Wright would get 80% of the company's income, and Heller he would get that 20%. But according to Heller, he told Wright, every dollar comes into Ruthless. Take 20 cents. That's industry standard. For a manager of my caliber, I take 20. You take 80%. I am responsible for my expenses and you're responsible for yours. You own the company. I work for you. Along with Heller, Wright invested much of his money into Ruthless Records. Heller claims that he invested the first $250,000 and would eventually put up $1 million. Oh, I forgot. $1 million. Oh, it's $1 million. I did not know that. Well, probably a million to start. Into the Yeah, he put like $1 million to the company. It's all it's 1,000. What do we call it? It says like $1,000 or or like 1 million into the company. I did not know it's like he will put up to 1 million. So into the company. But we go to Easy's career. Go to the music career. See Eric Wright, see Eazy-E, his musical career. We go to his career. The Easy Does It album, the NWA album, you know, the Straight Outta Compton album. See, it was named it was also being named as what the world's most dangerous group in West Coast hip hop music, West Coast rap music. The original lineup consisted of guys like Arabian Prince, Dr. Dre, Eazy-E and Ice Cube, uh, DJ Yella, and MC Ren. Joined later. The album called is NWA and the Posse. Check this out. Check this album cover out. Let me push this one right there. Check this album out. This album was out since like late 1987. This album's been out since late 1987. I think McCullough Records, uh, I think had Ruthless or McCullough. I think it got released by through McCullough Records that I did not know of, or Ruthless, one of them. But the compilation album NWA and the Posse, that album was about to be released on November 6th, 1987. I mean, like shit. I was 5 years old then, when that album came out, and that album would possibly go on to be certified gold in the United States. But the album featured material previously released as singles on the McCullough Records label, which was responsible for distributing the releases by NWA and other artists like the Fela Fresh Crew. Was a West Coast rap group originally based in Dallas, Texas. That's a group that DOC was with. So you know That's a group that DOC was with, uh, along with Dr. Rock and Fresh K. You know what I mean? Easy E, his Easy E's debut album, Easy Does It. Let's go check this album out. Oh, they showed the picture. Easy Does It. It was released in 1988. It was released and came out like what in the 80s, in 1988, and it features about 12 tracks. It was labeled as the West Coast hip hop and gangster rap, and later it became the golden age of hip hop thing. You know, it has sold over 2.5 million copies in the United States and reached number 41 on the Billboard 200. The album was produced by Dr. Dre and DJ Yella and largely written by MC Ren and Ice Cube. They made the album. They already produced and written the album. The DOC included. All five of them had already did the producing and writing. Was Dr. Dre, DJ Yella, MC Ren, Ice Cube, and the DOC. Both Glenn Boyd, who was from the Seattle Post Intelligencer, and John was it John Wiederhorn? John Wiederhorn? What's the name spelled? John was it Wiederhorn? Wiederhorn. John Wiederhorn. He claimed that he claimed that Easy Does It paved the way for NWA's most controversial album. Let's push this album again. Straight Outta Compton. Wright's only solo in the album was a remix of the song Eight Ball, which was like originally appeared on the NWA and the Posse. You know, the album featured Wright's writing and performing. He performed 7 songs and helped write about 4 songs. He wrote about 4 songs. Ice Cube he left NWA, so I feel it was in like December of 1989 because of the internal disputes, and the group continued as a four piece ensemble. NWA released 100 miles and running. This I'll show you here. This is the EP. It's called 100 Miles of Running. I think it came out. I think that album came out like what? Was it August 14th? It was released on August 14th, 1990. Okay, I was 8. I was 8 years old then when that album came out. And niggas for life, niggas for life. It was spelled backwards. Look, it's called niggas for life, but it's spelled backwards. It was a second and final studio album that came out in like May 28th, 1991. I think I was 9 years old when that album came out too. That album came out too. I was like 9 years old then. I was 9 years old when that album came out. Um, it was a diss war. It was a diss war between NWA and Ice Cube. When 100 Miles and Running and Real Niggas were released, Ice Cube responded with this record. It's called No Vaseline. That was on the Death Certificate album. Wright performed on 7 of the 18 songs on Niggas for Life. In March of 1991, Wright accepted an invitation to a lunch benefiting. That had to be a luncheon. It had to be a luncheon It was a lunch benefiting. Uh, that's how he is. That's how Wright accepted an invitation to a lunch benefiting the Republican senatorial inner circle. So it was like a luncheon. It was hosted by ex United States President uh, George Herbert Walker Bush. A spokesman for the rapper said that Eazy-E supported Bush because of his performance in the Gulf War. The end of NWA in the feud with Dr. Dre. But the feud between them was so far from finished. That just came from the narration of Ving Rhames, who was an actor. He did the narration for Beef. NWA began to split up after Jerry Heller became the band's manager. Dr. Dre recalls the split came when Jerry Heller got involved. He played the divide and conquer game instead of taking care of everybody. He picked one nigga to take care of, and that was Easy. And Easy was like, I'm taking care of, so fuck it. Dr. Dre and DOC, they sent Suge Knight, Marion Suge Knight, who was an ex Death Row Records CEO and a bodyguard for NWA, to look into. Well, he was Knight was known for bodyguarding Bobby Brown, in NWA. They sent Knight to look into Eazy-E's financial situation as they began to grow suspicious. So it began to grow suspicious of Eazy-E and Jerry Heller. Dr. Dre and the DOC asked Eazy-E to release them from Ruthless Records, but Eazy-E refused to release them. The impasse led to what reportedly transpired between Suge Knight and Eazy-E, between Marion Suge Knight and Eazy-E, in at the recording studio. That's where Niggas for Life was recorded. After he refused to release them, Dr. Dre and the DOC, after he refused to release these guys from E, he had kidnapped Jerry Heller and was holding him prisoner in a van. This did not convince Eazy-E. This did not convince Eazy-E to release Dr. Dre and the DOC, whose real names was Andre Young and Tracy Curry, from Ruthless. And Suge Knight threatens Eazy-E's family. That's what Suge Knight would do. He will end up threatening. He threatened Eazy-E's family, especially his parents. Uh, Suge Knight gave Eazy-E a piece of paper that contained Eazy's mother's address by telling him, I know where your mama stays. Eazy-E finally signed Dr. Dre and the DOC's releases, officially ending NWA. NWA is officially ending NWA, as led to the breakup. In 1993, Eazy-E regularly attended court in the prosecution of the officers that were involved in the beating of Rodney King, dated back to March 1991, when when somebody brought a video camera and filmed Rodney King getting beat up. I'll push this right here. Yeah, that's where somebody had a video camera when they had started filming Rodney King getting beat up by Ford officers. You know what I mean? They used to be working for a ex police chief by the name of Daryl Gates. Along one of those guys who did beat up Rodney King was Theodore Brazeno, Theodore J. Brazeno. So let me rephrase this. In let's go back to this. Let me go back to this. In 1993, Eazy-E regularly attended court in the prosecution of the four officers that were involved in the beating of the late Rodney King, often standing alongside um, a police officer by the name of Theodore J. Brazeno, who he had met through sharing the same lawyer. Eazy-E said this: the difference is that most people look at the video and say four white officers, including Brazeno, were responsible for the beating of this helpless, innocent black man. I say wrong. Three white officers were responsible for the beating Rodney King. The other officer that had to beat Theodore J. Brazeno happens to be a Mexican American, and he tried to stop them. This caused controversy in the hip hop community with Ghetto Boys member William James Dennis, who is also known as American rapper Willie D. And he is calling Eazy-E a sellout. But afterwards, the feud with Dr. Dre continued. The feud with Dr. Dre, I'm not gonna lie to you here. The feud with Dr. Dre continued, and it did. After a track on Dre's debut album, The Chronic, fuck with Dre Day and everybody's celebrating. Yeah, it's what's called fuck with Dre Day and everybody's celebrating. That contained lyrics that insulted Eazy-E. Responded with the EP, its own Dr. Dre 187 Killer. It's featuring this album right here. It's featuring the tracks. It's featuring like eight of them, eight tracks that's there. That was featuring the tracks. That's all eight of them, including real motherfucking G's. That was featuring I think Easy dissed Dr. Dre with along with the two guys that was in that was known that was being in the in another street gang known as Nutty Block Crips. Had to be BG Knockout and Drayster, Gangster Drayster. And it's on the album, which was released on October 25th, 1993, that contains pictures of Dre wearing lacy outfits and makeup when he was a member of the electro hop world class wrecking crew. It was alongside if it was Michelle, if it was Michelle, I think, and there was Michelle Toussaint, young Michelle Toussaint. I think it was a young unknown or whatever, or yeah, or clientele, whatever. Or you have a young Alonzo Williams who was known for owning a nightclub. This man just poured Alonzo Williams. He just poured millions of dollars into his Eve After Dark nightclub. Why would Eazy-E introduce Alonzo Williams to the late Jerry Heller? Like he paid this man $750 to introduce introduced him to Jerry Heller, who was uh established music manager. We gotta go to the personal life of Eric Wright. Uh, he had a son named Eric Darnell Wright, who was known as Little Eazy-E. Well, that's Eric Wright Jr. Uh, in 1984, he also had a daughter who goes by the name of who goes by the name of Erin, who's named Erin, who changed her name to Evie. She wanted to know the truth about the death of her father, man. She wanted to know that. So in October 2016, Evie launched a crowdfunding campaign to produce a film. It's called The Ruthless Scandal. No More Lies, to investigate her father's death. Her father's death, his untimely demise. It ended in an unsuccessfully manner in December of that year. Go jumps right back to where Eric Wright met Tamika Woods at a LA nightclub in 1991. That was in the early 90s. They they married in 1995. That was some shady shit. Why married? I mean, all of a sudden, Nelson Easy's deathbed. Like, they married in 1995, 12 days before his death. They had a son named Dominic and a daughter named Daisha, who was like born 6 months after Wright's death. After Wright's death, Ruthless was taken over by his wife and widow, Tamika Woods Wright. According to the late Jerry Heller, Wright had 11 children with 8 women. We got the illness and death. There's a statement from Eazy-E's camp on his behalf on March 16th of 1995. That came from, I feel it was Larry Sweeney. He says he read what Eazy-E had wrote. I don't know if he wrote it or not. It says, "Now I'm in the biggest fight of my life, and it ain't easy. But I want to say much love to those who have been down with me, and thanks for all your support. Just remember, it's your real time and your real life." On February 24th, February 20. I'm gonna say. Let me rephrase. On February 24th, 1995. This is months after he got off from the that tour, like 94. Wright was admitted to the legendary Cedar Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles with a violent cough. He was diagnosed with the HIV/AIDS virus. He announced his illness. I think he got injected with AIDS by some Nation of Islam guy. He got beef with them all of a sudden. It was like 93. It was beef he had with the Nation of Islam. Shit. He announced his illness in a public statement on March 16th, 1995. That all came from this. It came from that statement. It came from that. And that came from Eazy's camp. That was on his behalf for one reason. That was where it came from. Uh, it is believed Wright had contracted the infection from a sexual partner. Oh boy. Seriously, Eazy-E wasn't even a heterosexual or homosexual or nothing like that. He wasn't even gay. He was straight. He loved women. He was never in love with no men. He loved women. He loved women. The women love Easy. So now he's saying that this is what he's been saying. It is believed Wright had contracted the infection from a sexual partner. Oh boy, this is like something you don't even hear in years. But during the week of March 20th of that year in 1995, having already made amends with Ice Cube, he drafted a final message to his fans. But on March 26, 1995, Eazy-E died from AIDS-induced pneumonia. Yes, AIDS-induced pneumonia. AIDS-induced pneumonia. 1 month after his diagnosis, he was 30 years old. Most reports at the time say he was 31 due to the falsification falsification of his date of birth by 1 year. Uh, that's all. That's all garbage. He was born in 1964. Why I gotta mix that up with the dates? On the day of the funeral of Eric Lynn Wright, he was buried on April 7th, 1995. This was after they had to go get the casket with his body in it out of the funeral home and then get trans get transported all the way to uh, a local Rose Hills Memorial Park. That was in Whittier, California. But he was buried on. Nobody explains to y'all, YouTube viewers. That man was buried on April 7th, 1995. That was the day of the shit that happened with the Theodore Kaczynski Oklahoma bombing thing. It was the same day as the shit that happened with Theodore Kaczynski, who already bombed the building in Oklahoma. Okay, he was buried on April 7th, 1995, at Rose Hill Memorial Park in Whittier, California. Yeah, he was. But over 3,000 people had attended his funeral before this, including Ice Cube and DJ Yella. He was buried in a gold casket and was dressed in a flannel shirt, jeans, and his Compton hat. His final album, Straight Off the Streets of Motherfucking Compton, was released 10 months after his death on January 30th. On January 30th, 1996. That was the end of January of that year. But the musical influences and the style is the logo. That's easy. I've used it. That's used for his solo album from 1988 to 1992, 1993, 1996 maybe. All music, all music cites Eazy-E's influences as the people like T, like Ice T, Red Fox, rest in peace, King T, uh, William Earl Bootsy Collins, Run DMC, made of Joseph Reverend Ron Simmons, Daryl DMC McDaniels, and the late Jam Master J. Yeah, the late Jason Jam Master J. Mizell. You know, uh, Richard Pryor, rest in peace. The Egyptian Lover, Schoolie D, Ty Shaw, aka Too Short, the late Prince Rogers Nelson, the Sugar Hill Gang, still alive, and the one and only godfather of the Parliament funkadelic sound, George Edward Clinton. In the documentary The Life and Times of Eric Wright, Eazy-E mentions collaborating with many of his influences. When reviewing Straight Off the Streets of Motherfucking Compton, Stephen Thomas Erlewine noted that Eazy-E sounds revitalized, but the music simply isn't imaginative. Instead of pushing forward with and creating a distinctive style, it treads over a familiar gangster territory complete with the bottomless bass whining, synthesizers, and the meaningless boasts. When reviewing Easy Does It, that was the first solo album. Jason Birchmeyer of All Music said that in the terms of production, Dr. Dre and Yella meld together P-Funk, Def Jam style hip hop, and the leftover electro sounds of the mid '80s Los Angeles, creating funky, funky, and thoroughly unique style of their own. Birchmeyer describing Eazy-E's style as dense, unique, and funky. That's what Birchmeyer had already described. Eazy-E's style as dense, unique, and funky. And said that it kind of sounded absolutely revolutionary in 1988. Several members of NWA wrote lyrics for Easy Does It. Ice Cube, the DOC, and MC Ren. The EP 5150, Home for the Sick, they're supposed to have that album out, but it got scrapped. But it featured a song that was written by Naughty by Nature, that was made of uh, Anthony Chris, Anthony Church Chris, Vinny Brown, who has be Vincent Brown, who's known as Ben Rock, and DJ KG, who was Kevin Jest, was Kevin Guest or Jest. The track is called Merry Motherfucking Christmas. That's what the track is called, Merry Motherfucking Christmas, or it's Merry Motherfucking Xmas. That's what it says. It was featured at this group. It's featured this rap duo that goes by the name of Menage a Trois. Uh, you know what I mean? Buckwheat, it featured Buckwheat, and it's a tribe beyond a nation clan as the guest vocalists, and the neighborhood sniper, it features Cocaine as a guest vocalist on. That was the guest vocalist that was for. It's on the Dr. Dre. It's on Dr. Dre 187 Killer album. Uh, it features several guest vocalists, including Gangsta Drayster, including Gangsta Drayster, uh, BG Knockout, Cocaine, Cole 187 uh, Rhythm D, and Dirty Red. That page does not even exist at that time. They did not know who he is. He was a street cat who was born with Eazy-E in them in the songs. Straight off the streets of motherfucking Compton featured several guest vocalists, including BG Knockout, Gangsta Droyster, Silky Fine, Dirty Red, Menage a Trois, the late Roger Troutman, and the ex NWA members that was still alive was MC Ren and DJ Yella. Well, there's a legacy that Wright have left behind. But the name Eazy-E, it reads and breathes. But Eazy-E, he has been called the Godfather of gangster rap. Reed Shaheem, who was working for MTV, has said that Easy was a rap pioneer, and he is sometimes cited by the critics as a legend. All Music's Steve Huey has said that that Easy was one of the most controversial figures in gangster rap. Since his 1995 death, many book and video biographies have been produced since 2002's The Day Eazy-E Died and Dead and Gone. When Eazy-E was when Easy was diagnosed with AIDS, many magazines like Jet, you know, uh, Vibe, Vibe, they already had Janet Jackson cover. Billboard and the Crisis, and Newsweek. They all covered the story and released the information on the topic. All of his studio albums and EPs charted on the Billboard 200 chart. They all charted on the Billboard 200, and many of his singles, "Easy Does It," "We Want Easy," you know, real motherfucking G's, and "Just to Let You Know," also charted in the United States. In 2012, an Eazy-E documentary was released by Ruthless Propaganda. It's called Ruthless Memories. Ruthless Memories. The documentary featured interviews with Heller, MC Ren, and BG Knockout. In the 2015 film Straight Outta Compton, Eazy-E is played by a New Orleans, Louisiana native who goes by the name of Jason Mitchell. Okay, and the film is dedicated in his memory. Eazy-E was then portrayed by Omari Wallace in the 2016 film Surviving Compton. Dre, Suge, and Miss Chalet. It was on used to be on Lifetime. It was on Lifetime previously. Back in 2016, the film portrays Eazy-E sympathetically as having been a friend to Miss Chalet. In one scene, warning her to get out of the house because he fears that a drunken a drunken Dr. Dre is returning home to beat her. There's discography. There's a discography there along with Eazy and NWA. There's separate discographies. Uh, Studio albums from 1988 and 1996. The extended play albums that was from 1992 to 2002. That's from that and posthumous kind. Those were NWA, NWA and the Posse. Straight out to Compton, 100 miles of running niggas for life. The studio albums was Easy Does It, straight off the streets of motherfucking Compton. Extended play albums was 5150, Home for the Sick. It's on Dr. Dre 187 Killer, and a posthumous album was in Eazy's memory. It's called Impact of a Legend. That's all there. But I had waste like 50 minutes of this documentary, this live show based on the story. But that's how I had to learn about Eazy. When I grew up watching, watching, real G's video as a kid. Where I was like, shit, I was like 11, when I was like 10 or 11 years old. When I was like 11 years old, when I first watched this man's music video. Yeah, I was a kid. I used to live with my mother back in '93 when I used to watch the real G's video. So that video kind of done wonders. When you're in the rap game, when you're in the rap game, you end up wearing you end up wearing Raider hats, Compton hats, White Sox hats, and other hats that you wear. See, you see all the imageries right here. We're going to imageries right here. We're gonna show you that. We're gonna play. We'll get the imageries right here. See, these old photos of Eazy-E. See, it goes back to when he was in when he was getting into the dope game and doing interviews. It's the old picture they have of uh of Eazy-E. It's an old photo they have it's an old photo they have of Eazy-E in Happier Times with was him, Laylaw from Above the Law, who was working security for these guys. Dr. Dre, you know, MC Ren, he was rolling with Eazy-E ever since he was in this street gang known as the Kelly Park Crips. That was in the Compton uh area, the Compton, California area. So they've been rolling with each other ever since their days as gang members. DOC, he's like a guy who was already a Texas native. He was from Dallas, Texas. He was with Dr. Rock and you know yeah, he was with Dr. Rock and all of them. You know, everybody knows the story. Yeah, it goes back there. See, he was with the feel like I mean, what I'll tell you about Doc. Doc was with the feel out fresh crew. You know what I'm saying? He was in the feel out fresh crew. On. Oh yeah. Now I remember. Now I fucking remember. Now I fucking remember this. Now I remember this shit. Now I fucking remember this shit. See, the thing is about DOC when he was rolling with Dr. Dre. You know, they've been buddies. They've been best friends. They know each other since the late 1980s. So it's all said in the newspaper. Uh, This what kind of mesmerized me was the DLC, Tracy Lynn Curry. I mean, the man was known to be in a Feli Fresh crew. It was him, Fresh K, and Dr. Rock. You know, they were during the days in Dallas, Texas. They're like a southern rap group. So DJ Yella, he's been rolling with Dr. Dre since the world class Wrecking Crew days. You know, but Ice Cube, he's been in the game. He's been in this rap game since 1986. But he was in a rap group called the CIA. It was a rap group. It's him and a couple of guys. Him and a couple other guys. That was the group. But he was a high school student between 1986 and 1987. You know, he was in that group. I mean, he was in high school. Yeah, he was in high school in L.A., Los Angeles. He was a student. He was living with his parents. And he used to go attend uh that local at school they used to go to. The CIA, that rap group was named after the real CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. That was a federal government like organization. You see what I'm saying? That group was later dissolved long before the formation of NWA. But Laylaw, let me point there to this thing. Laylaw, before this is around time when Laylaw was with I feel it was Big Hutch, who had to be Cole 187 them. Uh he related to Willie he's related to Willie Hutch. Uh Gomac, who was already in the group that was above the law. Above the law. You know, he was in a group that was from the 80s, only till like the 90s when he left. That was after the uh the Black Mafia Life album came out, you know. So early 1993 album came out. It's because of the shit that happened with Dr. Dre. So that goes within the territory, you know. Ice Cube, he moves on with his solo career. So that's good. But MC Ren, he wanted to move on with his solo career too. But he doesn't. But this is before DOC got into a car accident. He got into a wreck. He was taken to a hospital. Doctors were about to save, but they rushed him. He got rushed to the hospital since he crashed his car into a tree and then his teeth fell out. His vocal cords. Yeah, that's what he tried to save him, and then he messed up the vocal cords, and they had him sounding like a they had him sounding like a Disney cartoon character. Got him sound like this with the electronic like voice. He's like, getting that sound, nigga. You know, he went from sounding like a human being. He went from sounding normal to sounding like a fucking. He sounded like an electronic person. He sounded like a deeper voice guy. He sounded like a cartoon character all of a sudden. A cartoon character. But that's how he sounded now. Like he did then, since the deal since his solo album, and then when Suge Knight was bodyguard and all that. But it's been years. I will never forget what this man has done for the music industry, especially Eazy-E. I will never forget what this man has done for the music industry. You know, his legacy, man, it will still live on. It will still live on to what you have already seen from the '80s all the way to what it was now when you've seen all of them there. He's not around. The legacy that he leaves behind. But that's gonna be passed. That'll be passed on to his son Eric. Passed on to his son Lil Eazy-E, who had to be Eric. Eric Wright Jr. His real name was Eric Darnell Wright. But on the Straight Outta Compton biopic, Lil E wasn't even up for that role. But he wanted to let somebody else play the Eazy-E character. He wanted somebody else to play as Eazy-E, and that could be Jason Mitchell. That could be Jason Mitchell. There's a picture of him wearing a Compton hat. So, like Easy was back in the '80s when he was a local crack slinger and hardcore gangster around the corner. R.I.P. Eric Wright, aka Eazy-E. Born September 7, 1964, died March 26, 1995. Well, he will be missed. His legacy will still live on. I'll pass on to all 11 of his children.